All right. Hello again. This is Ian again with NoFi, and I'm here today with part two of our tutorial on getting set up and running with the NoFi finance template here. So for this part two, as promised, I'm going to take you guys through the template and spend a lot more time on the tips, tricks, and customizations that I've made, and just give you some ideas, how to efficiently perform some common workflows, things that you'll probably end up needing to do in your day-to-day use of this template. So with that, we can go ahead and jump right in. So if you remember from part one, this is the NoFi finance template. We've synced an account. If we scroll down here, we can see that account. So again, this is our credit card from Chase Bank. Again, just a call back to the last video. And we can see we've pulled in a bunch of transactions here, and we've got our budget categories and our monthly summaries. Really excited to show you guys what we can do here. So let's get started. The first area I want to draw our attention to here is actually down in the budget categories section. So this is probably one of the most useful parts of this template, in my opinion. And if you're looking to track by category where your money is going or coming from on a given month, this is really kind of the place to start. So the first thing here, you'll notice that all of our budget categories have this kind of generic placeholder icon for all of our budget categories. Maybe this will be something we add in the future. We could be a little bit smarter about, using a better default. But I do find it's kind of satisfying to go through and pick out the categories that you think you're going to use a lot, and just kind of, start to assign some icons for those. So restaurants, that's a good one. We'll go ahead and assign this icon of a chef here. Similarly for supermarkets and groceries, little Apple icon here. Hardware store, I don't know if that'll be as common. I won't bother with that one for now. Also a good time to mention that, you can always search out a category over here. So like, for instance, let's see, something taxi. We can use this one for, Lyft, Uber, that sort of thing. So I'll go ahead and assign this icon of a car, maybe something that looks a little bit like a taxi. And then we can go ahead and edit the title on this one. We'll say rideshare, taxi, and rideshare. Cool. All right, let's go ahead and clear that search out and get back to our top level list here. One thing you'll notice also looking at these categories is that we have all of these different database views that get populated for us. And you can see that each database view is, by default, it corresponds to a month and a year. So March 2023 is the one we currently have selected. But you're going to want to, have budget category views that, are from the current month. And you're going to want to, create new ones, as time goes on. So a quick moment to, talk a little bit about the limitations of the Notion API at its current state. So as you all know, like the Notion API is kind of ever evolving, and Notion as a product is still very much, in kind of the early phases of its growth. So one of the limitations currently is that the API here doesn't actually allow NoFi to create these database views for you on your behalf. So what that means is that, this is kind of one of the things that you have to actually do yourselves. But, again, with the help of this video, hopefully we can make it pretty straightforward. All right, so we're going to go ahead and show you how to make a new budget category here. So the easiest way to do this is probably just to duplicate one of the pre-existing ones. That's how I usually do it. So then that's what we're going to do right now. So go ahead and right click on, March 2023 here. We're going to just select duplicate. And so again, as of the making of this video, it's September currently. So we're going to just go ahead and make one for September 2023. And we'll kind of use that as our example. So again, I like to choose kind of some of these icons that are relevant. We'll stick with that for now. And so where we really want to focus our attention now is the properties section here. So let's go ahead and click into that. You'll notice that we have some properties shown here. And these are all specific to March 2023, since that is the month we just duplicated. So obviously this is September 2023, so we want to go ahead and make sure that we have the correct properties showing here. So the good news is that we use a very predictable naming convention for all the months that we generate properties for. So if we want to find our September 2023 amount, we can simply search and then go ahead and click this little icon to show or unhide that property. So we're going to go ahead and do that with the rest of these. So we've seen our March 2023 amount. Now we need budget and status. All right, so now we've got all of our new properties visible on our new September 2023 database view. I'm just going to do a little housekeeping here and arrange these to kind of match the ordering that we'd seen with our March 2023 category. So we want the September 2023 amount right under March 2023. Similarly, we want our September 2023 budget right under March, and then status. Cool. So then finally, of course, we want to actually go ahead and hide the March 2023 properties since we don't actually care about those in our September database view. So let's go ahead and do that. Perfect. All right. So now we can see our visible properties here looking pretty good. For September, we've got the category name, type, and these labels, which these are really just the static text that you see on all of these. These are just going to be constant, so we can leave those alone. And then we've got our September 2023 amount, budget, and status. So we're looking pretty good. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click and drag that new database view that we just created. I'm going to go ahead and drag that over to the far left side here. Just kind of keep these views in somewhat chronological order, or really whatever works for you. I just find that works best for me personally. So, and yeah, so looking at this now, we can look at our cards, see that September 2023 amount property. This is currently just showing like a default, standard number. And we actually, we probably want this to be in dollars or whatever currency we're using. So in our case, let's just go ahead and check that out. So we're going to find our September 2023 amount here, and we're going to go ahead and edit that number format, set that to US dollar in our case, and then cool, we can see that it actually updated all of the kind of amounts that we're seeing there on those cards. Right, so now we've got our amount taken care of, and let's take a look at this idea of budgets. You can see all of these right now say no budget set. That is because, well, we haven't set any budgets yet, but I'm going to show you how to do that and talk a little bit about what that means in the context of NoFi. Right, so let's start with restaurants here. We'll use that as our example. I'm going to go ahead and click Edit, and you'll see that we have this blank field for September 2023 budget here. So as our status is informing us, we don't have a budget set yet. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to click that to edit it. And I don't know, let's just choose an arbitrary amount for this budget. We'll call it 500. Cool. So we've gone ahead and set that budget to $500. And we can see that our status formulas are now updated for this particular category. We can see that we are on budget, which is great. If this was actually the budget we wanted to use. Similarly, let's hop over to supermarkets and groceries here. And we're going to go ahead and edit this in the same fashion. And we'll set a really low budget here to demonstrate our point. So let's say $50. And in this case, we can see that we're over budget for supermarket and groceries because we only set a budget of $50 and we've spent $76. Now we have a basic understanding of how to set budgets and how to interpret these these statuses that we see on these budget category cards. So one thing that I'm sure you've all noticed by now is that we're kind of getting a lot of noise in here in terms of our budget categories. There's a lot of categories. We can load more of these and just really see what I mean. I mean, there's a ton of categories that get populated by Plaid, kind of by default. And a lot of these are not super relevant for us. You can see there's a lot of zeros in here. Now, granted, we haven't categorized everything yet, so we might, these categories might change a little bit, but, there's a lot of noise in here, and it can make it kind of difficult to parse out, the categories that you actually care about. So one thing I like to do on a new budget category database view like this is just go ahead and set some filters to help us out here. I'm going to set a filter that says September 2023 amount. We're going to say we want it to be not equal to 0. Filter out all of our empty ones. Great, so that actually worked fantastically. We can now see that all that noise is gone. And now we have a very manageable amount of categories that we're actually using, or that, we've actually categorized transactions under for this month. So this view is now, kind of cleaned up. We've gotten rid of all that noise, and we can start to go through these remaining categories, and, figure out what budgets we want to set, whether they should be income, expense, or transfer, etc. Lastly, I want to visit the sort here. So, yeah, we can see that we actually are sorting on January 2023 amount right now, descending. So this is another helpful pattern, but again, we want to make sure we update this to September 2023 amount. Let's go ahead and do that. Awesome. And so now we can see that, we're kind of viewing the categories that we have the highest amount for, is going to be first. And so generally I find that's the most helpful way to kind of dissect this view, is you want to look at the areas where you're spending the most money or making the most money first. And so this combination of filter and sort will give you just that. All right, so the last thing that I want to touch on here is this idea of income versus expense versus transfer. So if you click on this category type property here, you can see that for a budget category, we can set it to either be income, expense, or transfer. Now, each of these have a significance in terms of how they contribute to our monthly summary view here, which is right below our budget categories view. In that you can see here, we have, a total expenses, which, as you might guess, is a summation of all the expense type transactions for that given month. And then right below that, we have the summation of all of the income type transactions for that month. And then we just do a quick difference to find, what our balance is for the month. So obviously for September here, we've categorized, or we, currently have categorized some expenses, and we have not categorized any income yet. So our balance is going to be negative 648.66. Obviously, this will change as we review our transactions for the month, but for now, this is where we're at. So the significance here of transfer in all of this is that transfers are effectively ignored for the purposes of these monthly summaries that you see here. So again, transfers, a good example might be like a Venmo transfer between your Venmo balance and your checking account, let's say. All those Venmo transactions that contributed to that balance in this example are, going to show up as individual transactions, in your NoFi dashboard up here at the top. And so you don't want to double count them by also counting the amount that was then transferred to the bank, which is just going to be the sum of all of them, right? And so, using that transfer category type here is a great way to kind of selectively ignore those, kind of double count or, transfer type activities that you don't want to see reflected in your monthly summaries here. And you probably don't even care about the the budget category, seeing as, it's really, they've already been recorded as an expense or income in another category. So that's just another optimization that you can make to kind of clean up this view and give you the most distilled information that will actually be useful to you in your budgeting and managing of your finances. The last thing I want to cover for this video before we wrap it up is just kind of some optimizations that I use when reviewing transactions. Obviously, there can be a lot of different transactions, especially once you link all of your accounts and all of your transfers between accounts. It can become kind of a lot. So luckily, Notion gives us some database features that make managing this pretty easy, and I'll show you just a couple little patterns that I use here. So let's take a look here. Okay, we have this Phil's Coffee transaction. So this is, a coffee shop that, in this example, I go to, with some frequency. And so I know that there's going to be a lot of these showing up. So these are actually all already, the correct category. We probably want to keep this as coffee shop. I'll just go ahead and click into that category and update the icon to a coffee cup. Awesome. So, okay, let's go ahead and just knock all of these out at once. So for the past year, all of my Phil's Coffee transactions. So we're just going to use the search feature of the database here. We can see there's 36 of them. Let's go ahead and load more just so we can see all of them. And cool, they're all showing up. So we're just going to go ahead and use that bulk select feature. Uh, this is something that comes with all Notion databases now. It's been around for at least a few months. It's super, super handy for this particular transaction review workflow. Um, so yeah, we can bulk select all of these, and then we can just click reviewed. So just like that, we've knocked out a whole bunch of these transactions. And you can imagine that, for most people, they're going to the same places, doing the same sorts of things on a periodic basis. And so it can be super useful in terms of how to go about tackling this sometimes very large number of transactions that you have to work through. So just to recap here really quickly, in this video we've talked a lot about the budget categories section of the template. I find that this is probably where you want to make the most customizations to really make this template work for you. And today I've really taken you guys through and shown you what I've done personally to make this template work for me. So hopefully this has been helpful. And again, definitely not the last video in this series. I think there's still a lot more I want to do around further customization of this template, really leveraging the creativity that Notion affords you as a user to handle all kinds of unique use cases. So again, we'll probably do a part 3 that will cover some of those more advanced use cases, as well as the internal pages that power the NoFi template here. So you can actually see these if you click into the backend internal page here. So this is just a sneak preview. We'll cover this a lot more in part 3. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope that you find this useful and helpful in getting set up. And I look forward to doing more of these. I think there's a lot more cool stuff we can cover. And yeah, so more to come. More to come. Thanks again for watching.